Y'all ready for this? Actually, let me pull it up so y'all can see this too. So y'all won't think I'm crazy. You know, you gotta show that as mainstream media, so that mainstream media don't trip, or so that YouTube doesn't trip on you. Okay. So this is from Reuters, YouTube. I know I'm on Rockford right now, but I gotta post this clip later. But this is on Reuters. Okay. Don't take my page down because I'm reading from Reuters. It says outgoing U.S. Capitol Police Chief says his effort to get help was actually thwarted. Well, that's interesting. Let's hear more. The outgoing chief of the U.S. Capitol Police said House of Representatives and the Senate security officials had thwarted his efforts to call in the National Guard, contradicting assertions from other officials who said the force had not asked for help. The former chief of the federal force, Stephen Sund, told the Washington Post the supervisors were reluctant to take formal steps to put the Guard on call, even as police intelligence suggested the crowd President Trump had invited to Washington to protest against his defeat was probably going to be much larger than earlier demonstration. Sund's remarks were in contrast with those from officials in other branches of government who said after Trump supporters stormed into the Capitol building last Wednesday that they could have provided more people to secure it, but no one from Capitol Police asked. Sund told the newspaper in an interview that he had asked the House, the Senate security officials for permission to request that the National Guard be placed on standby in case he needed quick backup, but his request was actually turned down. Kenneth Rapuano, Assistant Secretary of Defense for Homeland Defense and Global Security, said last week that the Pentagon had been in touch with the Capitol Police and were told that they would not require assistance from the National Guard. Sund, who will step down from his post on January 16th after the House Speaker Nancy Pelosi called for his resignation, said his request for help was rejected or delayed at least 6 times. If we would have had the National Guard, we could have held them at bay longer until more officers from our partner agencies could arrive, he told the newspaper. Sund kept telling officials that the situation is dire, the official reported. The storming of the Capitol building by Trump supporters delayed the certification of Democratic presidential-elect Joe Biden's election victory. Yeah. So there's been some news to come out that actually further substantiates that guy's claim. Let's pull that up. So this is in Forbes, YouTube. When I post this clip later, this isn't me saying this. This is Forbes. I am just the messenger. Please don't shoot me. All right. What does it say, y'all? Report. FBI office warned of war at the U.S. Capitol despite claim attack was unknown. Now, I've been saying, me and Fiorella and Pasta and Steve and all them, everybody who was there the days before, and then Steve and them in the convo couch was there the day of. The day it happened was in the crowd. We all told y'all that Congress knew and the police knew because they told us and we heard it on the radio. And they were treating us some type of way because they were expecting the bigger MAGA crowd. And they thought that maybe there was a potential for us to be a contingent of that MAGA crowd. So we were telling y'all about this. Patrick S., thank you very, very much for the tip. Appreciate you. So this says, the FBI office warned of the war at the U.S. Capitol despite claim attack was unknown. An FBI office in Virginia issued an explicit warning that extremists were planning to travel to Washington, D.C. to commit violence and war the day before the deadly attack on the U.S. Capitol, according to an internal report obtained by the Washington Post, directly contradicting the Bureau's previous claim that it had no intelligence to predict last Wednesday's siege. The key facts, the FBI Norfolk reportedly warned that extremists were sharing maps of the Capitol's complex's tunnel system and arranging meetup points for those who travel from Kentucky, Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, and South Carolina. As of January 5th, 2021, FBI Norfolk received information indicating calls for violence, reads a section of the report, according to the Post, which goes on to describe detailed plans for the attack. An online thread discussed specific calls for violence to include stating, "Be ready to fight. Congress needs to hear glass breaking, doors being kicked in, and blood from their BLM and Pantifa slave soldiers being spilled." An unnamed FBI agent told the Post that the report was shared with others within the Bureau, including officials within the FBI's Washington field office. Soon after, the online thread was identified, an account that the FBI did not immediately verify in response to the questions from Forbes. This internal document appears to contradict statements made by the head of the FBI's Washington field office, Stephen D'Antuono, who told reporters last week there was no indication of anything planned on January 6th other than First Amendment protected activity. Well, yeah, but that's also like you should be ready because it's just Trump's people. I mean, like that's a lot of people and people are pissed. But do you see what I'm saying, people? Do y'all get what I'm saying? So what does this mean? It means exactly what I've been saying for the last week. That at the very bare minimum, this looks like these people were set up. Not everybody, but I'm saying like the ones who were dumb enough to actually end up in the Capitol, and then of course they're going to be prosecuted felony wise, and they will. It's not going to be pretty. They're going to have an example made out of them. They're going to be examples, and they're going to use them as the martyrs for the MAGA movement as they move on to locking up or locking down domestic terrorism, ramping up the war on domestic terrorism. This is from Biden's mouth, not mine. Okay, this means Congress knew. What have I been saying? I said, it's really bizarre to me, people, that Congress knew days before that this event was taking place. And yet they went to work anyway. So now we know the FBI had lied. They knew that this event was taking place. Once again, didn't tell Congress and didn't do anything about reinforcements. The DC Capitol Hill Police, I said Metro earlier. My apologies, I meant DC Capitol Police. They knew. I know they knew because they told us. And then the chief is saying, yeah, we knew. I tried to warn them. And that Congress, once again, his words, not mine. He says that his request for help was rejected 6 times. 6 times. It's by House and Senate security officials. So they knew. They knew. And what makes it worse is how Trump's dumbass, I don't know why he walked into this. I don't know how he walked into that. Like, he's dumb for that. But that also lets you know that he don't really got as many allies in the government as people would think. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Like, this is a mainstream source. This is Forbes and Reuters saying that your authoritative officials regarding this issue are lying to you. Either Congress didn't think they were in danger, or Congress purposely remained there so that the threat of danger put them in a position to utilize it, where now they are raising millions and millions and millions of dollars. One of my friends who is currently running for office said that a bunch of Democrats have now registered because they would not have been able to fundraise off of this event if they had not registered in this quarter. So a lot of them have registered in this quarter, in some instances, 1.5 years, 2 years earlier than what they would normally do, because they're using it as a fundraising opportunity. And to be fair, it's not like they're going to get a lot of them, because we know the Democrats are trash, and it's going to come out how trash they are by the end of all this, by the end of Joe Biden's administration. I'll give it about 6 months. Okay. So this is a fundraising opportunity, but also it's an opportunity, once again, for the powers that be to ramp up on domestic terrorism surveillance and then get the left to cheer for it. They knew. This isn't conjecture. This is fact. Multiple agencies are now saying this. It's crazy how DC, this is the second DC chief that snitches, by the way. Another one, I remember with the Seth Rich investigation, they were like, it was a woman, DC Metro Police Chief, former DC Metro Police Chief. She came out and said, there's nothing that concludes this is a botched robbery. I don't know why people keep saying that. They just wouldn't do the investigation, which is all people were asking for. So this is a consistent pattern that we're seeing. There's always a fall guy, a scapegoat. But will the people who literally lied about knowing about this event be held accountable? Think about it. They probably won't be, and people are perfectly fine with this. But when you have the state protecting, they're telling you, we knew that there was going to be an event. We specifically did not do anything about it and then they subsequently used the threat of that event to crack down on Trump, to take power for social media off of Apple Store and Amazon's Hub and the Google Play Store. They ban anybody who is adjacent to Trump, even if they've never done anything wrong other than their job. They're using this to threaten to expel Congress people. They're using all of this, even though they knew the event was happening. Hello. And this is why I say, be careful you should never cheer for censorship, and be careful when you do, because if all the government, once again, the moment that the mainstream media told me, you got to be upset, this is a coup, censorship is great, I'm like, so I'm going to believe the opposite of everything that they just said then, because the mainstream media was way too mobilized here. They were way too mobilized and quick to try and capitalize on this event. And of course, it was not portrayed exactly how it went down, which a lot of us kind of figured and kind of knew. And the pieces are being kind of sewn together right now as we speak, with articles like this coming out. But these articles are being pushed to the wayside. These aren't the articles going viral. It's the lies that are going viral. But AOC seems to beg to differ, because her and Congress are planning on doing something to rein in